Hello, everybody. Welcome to Standard Definition here on Boss Rush Network. I'm your host, and like I said, Eddie B. Joining me is Bossman himself, Mr. Corey Dirrig.
Hello. I'm ready to be in 64 bits.
Yes. And we got the legend herself, the one, the only, Miss Stephanie Klimov. Hello.
Hi. This is the episode I've been waiting for.
This is the episode she was made for, everybody.
Yes, everybody, we are ranking Nintendo systems, and we are ranking the Nintendo 64. This is going to be a very interesting episode. But before we get into that, Corey, do we have any Patreon shoutouts that we need to do?
Yeah, let's do some Patreon shoutouts, shall we? So we are recording this in June. On June 26th, we are recording this. So these are the patrons for up to that point. Also, just a quick reminder, Patreon is a subscription service which allows you to subscribe to us monthly for special perks and goodies and stuff like that. Our main perk is early access for $1. We also offer a $5 tier, which is Patreon Producer, which is what this is. I know that a lot of people out there are not as up on Patreon that listen to podcasts as we are, and so just wanted to give a quick reminder that patreon.com is a website. It's a service for creators, for people to directly support their favorite creators by month, and so yeah, that's probably a terrible way of explaining it, but I think I got it across. So patreon.com/Boss Rush Network is our Patreon page. You can subscribe for $1 and get 4 shows early, including Standard Definition 2 weeks early, After Dark 2 weeks early, and Expansion Pass 1 week early at the $1 level. Or if you want to be a Patreon producer for our show, you can subscribe at the $5 tier, which means you get your name shouted out on this here program, as well as all of our other content here on the Boss Rush Network. So, without further ado, our Patreon producers for this episode are Quentin Jackson, Rebecca Jewell, Adriel Munger, and my wife, Sana Dirrig. I want to thank all of our Patreon producers. I want to thank all of our patrons. And I want to thank all of our free listeners out there as well. We wouldn't and couldn't do this without you. Remember, if you're listening on iTunes or Spotify and you're not a patron, please leave us a 5-star rating and review. It really helps us out, and we'd really, really appreciate it, because everybody works really hard around here, and people deserve to know that they work hard and do cool things around here. So, yeah.
Yes. All right, everybody, let's jump into this episode. The Nintendo 64 was released on June 23rd, 1996 in Japan, September 29th for America, and March 1st, 1997 for Europe and Australia. It is the 5th generation of consoles. The code name for it was Project Reality, when Nintendo partnered with Silicon Graphics in 1993. A test model and then arcade platform was soon created and called Ultra 64. When it was finally designed, the system was named after a 64-bit CPU. Launch games for the Nintendo 64 were Super Mario 64 and Pilot Wings, and the total sales worldwide for the system was 32.93 million, with America making up 20.63 million of it. It was intended to sell for $249.99, but went to $199.99 to compete with Sony and Sega. Also, everybody, the 64DD, which is their disk drive, was released only in Japan. So, I got to ask you guys, when was your first time experiencing the Nintendo 64?
Well, I mean, I think my first kind of real exposure to it was through Nintendo Power. You know, I kind of started subscribing. I remember my first issue was the Turok issue. It had Turok on the front, and N64 wasn't even out yet. They just had, Turok was the cover, and then they had features for like Donkey Kong Country 3 for Super Nintendo in there. They had a bunch of late Super Nintendo games in there, but they started showing off Mario 64 and at the time Zelda 64 and Pilot Wings and Wayne Gretzky's 3D Hockey and Wave Race. They had a whole bunch of N64 games in there. So that was kind of my first exposure. And that whole summer I was debating, well, do I get a Super Nintendo? Because I had never had one. I had a Genesis. And it was really cheap. There's all these games out for it already. And I could I remember sitting in the back of my parents' van being like, okay, well, if I could get a Super Nintendo, there's all these games out for it. I could play as many games as I want. Not realizing that games were like $80 and $90 and $100 back then, right? I was just like, oh, I could play more games because there's a lot more out. But then I was like, well, the Nintendo 64 is the new thing, and I'll be up to date, and I can follow along in this magazine and play the games that are in the magazine and whatever. And ultimately, for that Christmas, people who listen to Nintendo Power Block or the Boss Rush podcast have probably heard this story 100 times, so I'll just give the quick version. I got Super Mario 64 from my parents for Christmas, but I didn't have a Nintendo 64. And then my grandma came over, and I opened all her gifts, and I still didn't have a Nintendo 64, so I didn't really understand if my parents knew or didn't know what that meant. And then my grandma told me that there was one more gift in the trunk of her car, and spoilers, it was a Nintendo 64. And I wanted to I immediately plugged it in and wanted to play it, and I couldn't play it till everybody left, and it was just a terrible time. Sorry to all my cousins and my grandma. I love you guys all, but but I got Super Mario 64, and that was my first real exposure to the Nintendo 64. And man, I always point to the Nintendo 64 as the console that made me know that I was going to play games for the rest of my life, right? Like, okay, the Sega Genesis was the console that was like, okay, I like games, I could see myself playing these, and but the Nintendo 64 was the console that made me start paying attention to games, made me realize that, might be doing this for a while. And Mario 64 still remains, even though I'm not a huge 3D Mario guy, playing a 3D game for the first time was incredible. And Mario 64 will always be that game. Sometimes people point to Final Fantasy VII or Ocarina of Time, and those are their first experiences with 3D games or their most memorable 3D game. But Mario 64 isn't still an incredible game. Even when you go back to it on the Switch, maybe not the 3D All Stars version, but the Nintendo 64 expansion pack version is, still just an awesome way to play it. So, especially if you have a Nintendo 64 controller. Oh, man. Hope you guys got those when those were in stock.
Fingers crossed. I think I'm getting mine tomorrow.
Great. They're fun. It feels like a Nintendo 64 controller. Also, it's weird because it rumbles, but there's no rumble pack. So
that's gonna be weird.
So remember how heavy that rumble pack was with the batteries in it, and it tilted the controller back, and you had to use some wrist strength to hold the controller correctly. It's like the heft isn't there, but the rumble is still there, and it's like whoa.
It's weird.
Ugh, it's weird.
Well, what about you, Stephanie? What was your first time with the Nintendo 64, or how did you learn about it or anything?
Well, it definitely my formative years, and I know you've talked about like the release date and stuff, but just like a high level, I think this generation of consoles is like the pinnacle of like what most middle range millennials like. This is our nostalgia console, like, because it's the span from, I had to look it up, the fifth generation from 1993 to 2006. So across the millennium, Sega Saturn, PlayStation, original PlayStation, and 64. So I feel like these are the systems that, millennials will, are diehards for. But anyway, for me, my first experience was through my cousin, and he was much older. He was my oldest cousin. originally from Jersey, but I think he was going to college in Boston. So he stayed at my parents' house while he was going to school. And all he would do when he's not at school was lock himself in his room and play video games. And because video games were not allowed for me, I would I'm going to hang out with my cousin John. And I'd sit there and I would just watch him play N64. And he was playing Ocarina of Time, And I'm like, whoa, 3D polygons. What? Well, I didn't know what polygons were, but now that's probably what I was thinking, just not in those words. So that was my first exposure, was through my cousin. My mind was blown as he was Star Fox 64, manipulating that 3D environment. And, jump ahead maybe another year. So I definitely didn't get the N64 when it first came out. I probably got it mid-cycle, mid in its life. I begged and begged and begged. And my parents don't usually break, but I think I broke them finally. But they obviously got me back for it, because that's also how I learned for a fact that Santa didn't exist, because I asked for an N64 for Christmas, and I guess they caved, but they weren't happy about it. So they literally bought me the N64 and just put it under the tree. Didn't even wrap it. They're like, here.
Wow.
I was like, oh, okay, so you guys were Santa. So I had that. It came packed in with Wave Race 64, and that was the only game I had. Ooh. They wouldn't buy me anything. So I just had to play the hell out of it. But remember, back then we also had Blockbuster.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I'd get my games. So that was my experience.
That's so funny. And my parents had the opposite effect of they didn't want to go to Blockbuster and rent the games. They wanted to just buy them outright, because they didn't. They were always annoyed when I asked them to go to Blockbuster to rent something. So I never had that renting experience unless I was with one of my friends who was like, "Oh, hey, let's go rent a game." I'm like, "Who rents games?" I didn't have that Blockbuster. I never even had a Blockbuster membership, and it always bummed me out, because I was always the person that was never got to go rent anything. But I guess that's a good thing, because my parents were just like, well, just buy it. I'm like, oh, okay, that's neat. We'll do that.
Yes.
How about you, Ed?
Well, for me, as everybody knows, that EGM was the Bible to me, the video game Bible. And so, of course, it was Nintendo. And when I heard about the Nintendo 64, all I knew it was Ultra 64. And so I was just like, oh, I'm so excited. I can't wait. Oh, this is a picture of Final Fantasy, and didn't know all the drama behind that or anything. Which just I was just so excited to see it. And then when they revealed it and called it Nintendo 64, I was just like, I don't like the name. I don't like how the logo looks, but I'm still excited because I thought Ultra 64 was such a cool name at that time.
So 90s.
Right?
So
yeah,
90s.
It really is. So my mom got it for Christmas. I would get my console video game systems on Christmas that year. So she knew that I wanted one. It was no choice. It wasn't not no choice. It was just a given and everything. And of course I said, I would like Super Mario 64. And because I played so much Bomberman on the Sega Genesis with my friend, I asked for Bomberman 64, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit later in the show.
I love Bomberman 64.
That was the other game my cousin played. Yeah, so I can't wait to hear about that.
So, yeah, and I never got a second controller. I always had one controller, so I would have to go to my friend's house with my controller so we could play the wrestling games from THQ.
Do you need another Nintendo 64 controller? Because I have 9 of them.
Yeah. I'll never get rid of my see-through red one. That's my favorite one.
I have a see-through purple and the banana yellow one that they promoted with Donkey Kong, and the only way you could get it was if you got the pack in with Donkey Kong Country or Donkey Kong 64 or whatever.
Yeah. So that's how I came into the N64, and we'll talk a little bit more about rentals because we had a place called People's Choice that was up from my house, and Mondays you could rent a game for $2. And you get to keep it for 3 days. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you have to have it back by 8 o'clock that night. Other than that, if you do it Tuesday or Wednesday or whatever any other day, if you rent it, you still have to pay the $2, but the next day you have to return it. So I was just like, okay, that's fine. But I did like half of my gaming library do that store because sometimes like games that they didn't want anymore, you could just outright buy for like $5 or $10. So, but yeah, that was my intro to like the N64. Definitely, if you guys look at the Nintendo 64 controller, it's like kind of almost like three handlebars in a sense, but it looks like almost like a bird if you had to draw it. Yes, Corey's holding it up. It had the diagonal the
Yes, thank you, Corey, for showing it off because I wrapped mine up because I don't want dust to get on it.
Okay, so question: when you wrap the cord around it, do you do the one way or do you do the X, the cross way?
So I did the X.
Me too.
Gross. You guys are wrong, but it's okay.
Oh, okay.
You want to know why? I think
No.
it's because the two handle things. I feel like it was more secure by it going through those handlebars at the bottom, those two openings. Because like my N64, not N64, my Super Nintendo and my NES, when I wrapped those cords around, they always came loose. You had to try to always put the end part of the cord through it so it could stay there. And I felt like with the N64, when I wrapped it in the X, it was just so secure that nothing came out with it. Along with the N64, everybody, they had the expansion pack, which would jump the RAM 4 MB to 8 MB. So if you bought Donkey Kong 64, it came with it, and you will put it into the middle section of where the cartridge is at. You could save on the cartridge, or you could use the memory card that was in the back of the 64 controller. The system had 4 ports. It had a slider for you to cut it on, and then a reset button on the right side. And then of course the cartridge case. The system was region locked, so you wasn't able to play any kind of Japanese games. There is though at the bottom of the system was a port for the 64 DD, known as the 64 disk drive.
Mm-hmm.
This was supposed to be a way to allow online gaming, be able to play additional levels on it. So it's kind of just like interesting. If you look at it, at the bottom, it kind of almost looks like a VCR in a sense, but it's like a big cartridge port where you will put your disc in, or the cartridge disc, and it will read the memory off it for it to load into the game to play. In Japan, you were able to get stuff like for the Legend of Zelda and some of the other games, but they shortly discontinued it because it was a little bit too expensive and really nobody was going out to get it. You will be able to, what you will go to is like a 7-Eleven. There'll be a machine. You put the disk drive in, you pay some money, and you download that additional content, and then went and played it on your system. I was excited to actually play this one, but it just never worked out that America didn't get it.
Yeah, it's really interesting, some of the stuff, because like, you think about stuff that ended up coming to the GameCube later, like Animal Crossing and, Metroid Prime and some of these other things. They were actually originally started development on this disk drive, right? And
yeah,
it just, it had some interesting ideas in Japan and never came out here, obviously. And so, I don't know. It was a cool idea. Also, I think when Nintendo and Sony had that major split and the Panasonic stuff didn't work out for the Super Nintendo, Nintendo obviously probably had some sort of hesitation in terms of discs again, and kind of playing that game and not having, and they saw what was happening with the PlayStation, I think at that time too, where like, yeah, you could totally, it was really hard to do, but smart people could hack them and play burn games and stuff. And then obviously they saw what happened with the Dreamcast later and thought, after the GameCube, they had already announced the GameCube would use discs, and GameCube has the mini discs. Everybody knows that, which was their kind of way of trying to fight off piracy later. And the Nintendo 64 just was an interesting sense system, and the fact that it was going to be modular like that tells me that console was meant to last longer than it did.
Yes.
And because they have the expansion pack, right? And that's that was like a huge deal for Donkey Kong and Perfect Dark and Rogue Squadron and all these other games. Even Majora's Mask, utilized it.
Because Link could do more parkour with that.
Yeah, that's what we needed, more parkour.
Which was kind of interesting in a sense, because Killer Instinct was a game that when it was originally developed by Rare and Midway published it with Nintendo at the arcades, they were using Nintendo 64 hardware technology for it, but the N64 wasn't ready to come out yet. So that's why that game ended up on the Super Nintendo. And I think they probably would have used the 8-bit RAM expansion pack to get to use for that game.
Oh my gosh, the fact that Killer Instinct was on the Super Nintendo just boggles my brain. I mean, I know we had Mortal Kombat, right, and stuff, but like, you can't tell me Mortal Kombat was great on the Super Nintendo once you started playing stuff on the PlayStation and the Saturn, right? I mean,
at the time, Mortal Kombat 2 was the game on Super Nintendo.
No, it wasn't.
Mortal Kombat 2?
Street Fighter was the game on Super Nintendo.
Mortal Kombat 2 blew Street Fighter out.
No, Street Fighter was a Super Nintendo game. Even I know that.
Well, yeah, Street Fighter 2, when it originally came out, yes, it was. But when Mortal Kombat 2 came out, it became the fighting game. Everybody literally was playing that game over Street Fighter.
Well, here's the thing, though. I think it got a lot of attention because of the content, but I think more people were playing it on Genesis than the Super Nintendo because of the blood, right? Everybody was mad because the Super Nintendo...
For Mortal Kombat 1, but Mortal Kombat 2, they put the ESRB rating on it. So Nintendo started allowing blood and fatalities and stuff coming into their game. Because Mortal Kombat 2 in the arcade was a big issue. And when Killer Instinct came, that's when like fighting games started to change, because it started becoming they call it the dialed-in combos.
Yeah, well, I mean, Killer Instinct, I think, was prominent because it was combo based, right? I mean, I think it was almost the natural evolution of Street Fighter, where like Street Fighter was all about pulling off these awesome moves, right? And
yes,
and I don't think it was till like probably 3 or Alpha when like combos started coming in, and then combos were like a big deal in 4, right? Because they had the the V system or something in 4. I don't know. I'm not a huge fighting game guy. Although
in the Alpha series.
Although I did buy Street Fighter 2 HD recently during the Switch sale.
Yeah, I'm debating getting that. Yeah.
Well, like, I know that's probably the worst deal because you could get the Capcom Fighting Collection. There's a bundle for $40, which is the new Capcom Fighting Collection, and then the Street Fighter 30th Anniversary Collection together for $40. And like, that's probably the better deal. That's probably the better deal. But I'm like, no, I've been wanting, ever since Street Fighter 6 was announced, I've been like, I kind of want to play Street Fighter, and I almost bought the Xbox 360 version of Super Street Fighter Ultimate Super Duper Edition or whatever it's called, because 5 isn't available on Xbox. So I was like, oh, maybe, because it's got the frame rate boost, it's got the 4K upgrade stuff, like it's got the smart delivery stuff. It's really intriguing to me, But then I get in there and play it. I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing because I did not play these games in the arcade. I was playing Ninja Turtles and The Simpsons and X-Men, right? I didn't have time for Street Fighter.
I learned Street Fighter on the Super Nintendo.
We know, Ed.
Corey, I just feel like we're similar in that fashion because I saw the Street Fighter 6 and I'm like, yeah, I want to explore Street Fighter, yeah. But I'm like, no. But I'm talking sense to myself. I'm like, you've never really played it. If you get it, you're gonna button mash, and that would be pointless, and then get frustrated after 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm a button masher.
I know, I am too. But it was weird because when Injustice 2 came out and I bought it because of the Ninja Turtles, I actually sat down for about 2 weeks and actually learned how to play Injustice. I sat down, learn, quote unquote. I was looking up moves and trying to teach myself how to do these moves and play and get it going up on harder difficulty levels and stuff. And I really enjoyed it. I feel like fighting games are... I feel like I'm past the age of I'm going to be great at fighting games, right? But I still kind of want to learn, I want to be able to be more than just a Smash player. I want to be I played Street Fighter 4 or 6 and I can hold my own, and I don't know. Fighting games are so intriguing just because of even the competitive nature of those games is just, it's pure skill, right? It's pure skill, one-on-one. The ultimate esport, as they would say.
Well, definitely one of the games on the N64 when it came to fighting was Mortal Kombat Trilogy. And that one, it kind of had all these characters from all the games. And I think it was the only one. I think there was another version. I think it's the Ultimate version or Ultimate Trilogy or something. Or that might have been MK3 Ultimate. Trilogy had a problem in all of the console versions. So you would play up to a point you would get 40 to an hour worth of playtime, and then there was a bug in it that crashed the whole game, so you couldn't play it. So you had to restart it or cut your whole system off, take it out, let it cool down, put it back in, and then let it restart so you could play it again. But I think the N64 didn't have that kind of problem. But guys, there's a lot of games though that was very noticeable on the Nintendo 64. So of course you have Super Mario 64 that really pushed 3D gaming. And the analog stick on the N64 controller was a game changer. And I think it didn't change until it was PlayStation or Xbox, I think, that had two of the analog sticks.
PlayStation was first because of Ape Escape. They came out because remember the PlayStation just had what looks like a DualShock without analog sticks was their original controller, right? And it was ugly but functional, right? But how do you use that controller in a 3D space, right? It was awful. Did you play Resident Evil? Did you play Tomb Raider?
Oh yes.
Bad. No. Crap. But then, you look at the Nintendo 64, and obviously a lot of those games have camera issues and whatever. It was the Wild West for 3D gaming, right? But Nintendo kind of found a way to make it easier to consume with the analog stick, and then obviously Sony came out with the DualShock, but the DualShock didn't that right stick didn't become a camera until mostly until the PlayStation 3, Xbox 360 era. Right, Halo kind of standardized how we look at dual stick gaming, right?
Yes.
But other games on Xbox, PlayStation, even GameCube weren't doing it that way, right? Halo was the only one using the right stick as a camera, and when PlayStation introduced the DualShock, the one game that used it, was. They had Ape Escape, and the right stick was the net or your weapon, right? And that was what the second stick was used for, and it was really kind of gimmicky, and nobody really knew what to do with it. Nintendo 64 kind of introduced it with GoldenEye and Perfect Dark. If you plugged in a second controller on GoldenEye, you could use the the second player controller as the camera, which was, good luck using two Nintendo 64 controllers. Nobody really knew how to use
Right.
one. But yeah, I mean, using the C buttons as the camera for Mario 64, Zelda kind of, used the camera differently, and then like the Z targeting kind of repositioned the camera behind you if you got lost. But yeah, a lot of these games kind of started defining how we thought of 3D gaming. It wasn't the games on PlayStation, even though a lot of people want to point to like, Crash Bandicoot was an interesting 3D game, but it was really a 2D game in a 3D space, right? Like you just instead of running right to left, you're running forward and backwards, right? There was no kind of you can go left or right or whatever, but
it took the bonus level of Sonic 2 and just made it instead of it being automatic.
Gross. Don't bring that up. By the way, did you see Dan post that Sonic CD level on Twitter today? Oh my gosh, I wanted to throw up when he posted that. Gosh, Sonic CD is so not great.
Yeah, but the reason I said Sonic 2 bonus level is because of that view that you was going through. And there really wasn't any other game doing anything like that until kind of Crash Bandicoot. But yeah, Super Mario 64, I think because of the level design, the way that Mario was running and jumping and just moving in a 3D space, it was kind of just like shocking to everybody. Did you ever get a chance to play it, Stephanie?
Oh yeah, I never beat it, shockingly, because I'm not really the best 3D Mario player. Like, I love them, I'm just not good at them. But yeah, that was one of the first games that I played because that's what everyone was talking about. Like, oh, this revolutionized everything and jumping in and out of paintings. And for me, like, and I would say, and I know we might talk about this later, I think unfortunately one of the downsides of N64 is the majority of its games are really aged horribly, to be honest with you. Even though I love the system, I love the games, just from a visual standpoint, it aged terribly. But I'd say out of all the games, Mario 64 still holds up pretty decently. And yeah, just moving about the environment, the way it handled for its time, like, it's just really a historical, fun game. I just wish I beat it.
Which brings us to another historical game, The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask.
LaRon's favorite game, Ocarina of Time.
Yes. Look, okay, so yes, I think we're going to plan on streaming Ocarina of Time soon. Stephanie and I think, are going to play through it for the first, since I have a story about Ocarina of Time. We'll get to it after Ed gives his little spiel, I think.
No, go ahead. I could wait.
I was mostly buying time because my son is still screaming, but
well, I will say The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. This game had been in development for a while, and what they introduced into this game was Z targeting, where you go auto, like you would hit the Z button in the back, and it would lock onto enemies where they weren't able to escape. So it's kind of like a one-on-one battle, and it made fighting them in this 3D area easier. And then you kind of seen it in different games outside of Nintendo. And still even see it today with Z targeting. With that, later on, they brought out Majora's Mask, which is kind of somewhat a spiritual sequel or a side
It's
game.
a direct
sequel?
Ed, it is a direct sequel. I don't care how much you don't like that game. It is a direct sequel.
Or like Stephanie said, side quest sequel. Where the game is
I believe she was quoting you, Ed.
Yeah, she was. I know. I called it a side quest sequel.
Edward Varnell. Side quest sequel, Edward Varnell.
Well, with Majora's Mask, you are on a time limit of 3 days, but you can reset time in order to get through it. And the main focus on it was finding these different masks. With it. Now, the Legend of Zelda series aren't really known to have follow-up sequels to them. Usually, depending on what console or handheld that comes out, there's sometimes like a dedicated Legend of Zelda game for that platform. But The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask on the NC4 was the first time that two games came out on one platform for the Zelda series. Stephanie, I'm gonna start with you. What are your thoughts of The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask?
I'm clearly biased because that was my game that got me started. And I think most people that know me on Boss Rush know the story, so I guess this would only be new for new listeners, but Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time is literally the game that inspired my first novel and continued writing. So I have a lot to thank for that game. And it's Miyamoto, right, who was exploring the caves and all that stuff in Kyoto and whatever. When I heard that, like, even just behind the scenes of how Ocarina of Time was conceived, or not Ocarina of Time, sorry, Zelda, right? The whole Zelda franchise was how that, because that obviously was the original game. It just, my mind went nuts. I love the story. I mean, I know it's not the most, like, anyway, I'm not going to go into a rabbit hole. I could talk about Ocarina of Time for ages. What's up?
I would argue it has one of the better stories in the Zelda game, to be honest.
Okay, I feel bad. Sometimes I feel like I have to be like an apologist or something for that. Thank you.
You do.
Anyway, so number one, it inspired me to write my novel. That's how much it meant to me. And I love Z-targeting. I thought that was pretty revolutionary at the time, and in a sense still it is. I love the fact that, well, I loved all the temples. I love the music, and I love the mechanism of using music in the game. I love rescuing Epona and riding on the horse when at the time Hyrule Field looked like the biggest, largest thing ever. And just all the cast of characters was wonderful. I love the colors. I loved defeating Ganondorf at the end, and that final slash right into Ganon's nose. Like, that was freaking awesome. And Majora's Mask, I mean, I objectively acknowledge how great that game is. I just personally don't care for it, but that's only because I have anxiety with anything timed. And yes, I know you can slow down time by half, but it still gives me anxiety. And I ruined Anju and Cafe's mission once, the really long story, and I did something at the wrong time, and to the point where I don't think rewinding time by 3 days would fix it. Like, I think I just permanently screwed that mission up, and it made me upset, and I stopped playing.
Man, Majora's Mask is it's so good though.
It is. It is.
Majora's Mask made me go back and finish Ocarina of Time. That's how much Majora's Mask inspired my love of Zelda. It wasn't Ocarina of Time, even though that game is great in its own right. It was Majora's Mask. I remember that was like, I know we talked about me not renting stuff. Majora's Mask was one of the only games I've ever rented, and I beat it in a weekend. I bought I beat it in a weekend. I loved it so much that I went out and bought the game, the strategy guide, and the strategy guide for Ocarina of Time, and went back and finished Ocarina of Time, and then went back and played Majora's Mask again and did every single mask mission.
Nice. So, you know how a lot of us, like, just in general in the gaming community, talk about, oh man, when Ocarina of Time was like made in the Unreal Engine 5, like someone did all that stuff, and we're like, oh, will it ever get remade? Which we all know Nintendo won't do. I just feel like they're never going to do it. But well, here's the thing. One way I think they might be able to do it is, you know how they did A Link Between Worlds as like a spiritual successor or sequel to A Link to the Past. But when I play it, it's literally the same game, but just in a different style, and things are slightly changed around. I feel like that could be a good excuse for Ocarina of Time, where it could be like A Link Between Worlds, not in that art style. I'm just saying, not a true remake. Like some things will be different, but it'll be close enough. But with those graphics, it'll be like, mwah, perfect.
Yeah, man, it's so hard to go back though after Breath of the Wild to like think about. Oh man, I would really like a tradition,
like a linear game.
Because now you have to separate the 3D games into two separate styles now, because you have the traditional 3D and then you have the open 3D, which is Breath of the Wild, and it's like, oh man, Ed, we talked about this a little bit on an expansion pass. I don't know when that's going out, but we were talking about how Xenoblade Chronicles 3
that came out.
will
This is a direct recap.
no, that was
talking
the
about-
direct. This is
sorry.
it. This we were talking about how Xenoblade Chronicles 3 will somehow influence Breath of the Wild 2, and then we got sucked into talking about Breath of the Wild 2 and how they could mix, like, they could totally mix in traditional dungeons and, like, almost take a Mega Man approach of, like, instead of the weapon, getting the weapon and fighting through the dungeon with it, you could fight through the dungeon and then use that weapon on a different dungeon to make it easier, and kind of bring back that traditional dungeon sense to the open Zelda format. And because, like, that was my one major complaint with Breath of the Wild, is like the Divine Beasts weren't fun to me. I didn't think they were very good. Especially coming off playing Wind Waker and Twilight Princess, which has great dungeon design, and then you move into that, and like the shrines are fun. The shrines are super fun, but they're meant to be bite-sized, right? They're not full dungeons. I want a full dungeon experience.
And they don't have themes.
Yeah.
Well, like, you know what I mean? Yeah.
They do. Boring. That's the theme.
Well, it's hard for me to also imagine Legend of Zelda for the next 35 years all being open world games, or unless it's a 2D game.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if they could shake up the formula, kind of like how Resident Evil tries to stay fresh. I know it's a really weird comparison, but I just mean like 1, 2, and 3, and then they shook things up with 4, 5, and 6, and then 7 and 8 were different with the first person view. So I just mean like after like a batch of games being similar, then they just change it up.
Yeah.
I think they try to with it. I think it just depends on when they get into the R&D about it. What are they going to try to do? Because like if you look at the Legend of Zelda, each game somewhat can stand on their own. Legend of the original one, it's top down, but then you go to 2, which is kind of like a true RPG. It's just that it's side scrolling with a butter knife. I hate that. And then 3, it goes. 3 still produces that tradition, but then you got like this Pokemon double world kind of style with the light and the dark. You get to the NCC, you get to Link's Awakening and stuff, but that's like more music based than it is which is on like this one little island. Or Ocarina of Time, of course you still got that time traveling aspect to it, but Link is small, and then he's an adult when he time travels and everything. Like you haven't seen that anymore. The Zelda series, like you could time travel, but it's more of a transportation kind of thing, like Wind Waker, and stuff, which is really much a sea shanty kind of adventure and everything, with lesser dungeons and stuff. And the Triforce is stuck in the sea. It's not stuck in everything, and with all that lore. Then you get to Skyward Sword, Twilight Princess, and that affects Link itself. It's still this open world game where you can still find the stuff, but I'm like, you can't do everything if you're with Link or anything. You have to your texts are different. So I kind of feel like each game. Sorry, everybody, that I ran through most of the Zelda series. It feels like each game is always different. Where some of the ideas and traditions are there, but they trying to refine it, or they trying to reimagine it and stuff. Resident Evil had to change because didn't nobody want to do those tank. Think of doing those tank controls in Resident Evil 4 with that gameplay. Ooh. that game, Capcom would have got burned for that.
Mm,
You know.
good point.
And don't forget, Resident Evil and Devil May Cry was supposed to be the same game.
Yeah,
That's
Devil May
crazy.
Cry 1 was supposed to be Resident Evil 4, which is hilarious. Which makes sense if you played Code Veronica and like the creepy castle setting and the introduction of certain monsters and stuff. Totally makes sense, but glad it didn't.
Yeah, Ocarina of Time was my second time buying the strategy guide. Because it was Garrido's Village. I could not get out of that jail to sneak. They kept capturing me and throwing my tail in jail.
It took me a long time to understand how to get out of the jail. To
Yeah.
hook shot onto the window. I'm like, what am I doing? There's nothing here.
Yeah.
Oh, this is an important question, guys, because I think my view of it changed as an adult. Is the water temple really that bad?
No.
I don't remember having any difficulty with the water temple. My biggest problem was the shadow temple because, okay, people who have been listening to Power Block for a long time know that the reason why Ocarina of Time is not a top tier Zelda for me is because of my terrible experience with the shadow temple and not knowing that you had to go back in time to finish it. So, yeah, that's on me, I guess. But
Okay.
yeah.
No, if I was gonna say like a water temple that was bad, it's not bad, but Twilight Princess water temple was just too long with the
Lake
switching
bed?
the chairs.
Oh, yeah.
The stairs, yeah. That was the only reason why. It wasn't bad, it was just too long with all that switching.
I struggled with the Great Bay Temple in Majora's Mask. I don't know why. And I just didn't like George or Georg or whatever that boss's name was. Those are some really weird names.
I called him Gorgy. I didn't really know how to say
Oh,
his name.
Gorgy, I like that.
I just didn't like the time factor in Majora's Mask, so I refused to play it. Even though I
Yeah.
need to play it on the Switch.
At the time, it didn't stress me out, but when I was playing the 3DS version, it totally stressed me out. And, like, it clicked in my head that this is totally, like, a roguelite game. Where, like, you can make progress, obviously, but, like, you still have to reset the timeline and everything still starts over, even with your progress. And now, like, thinking about playing it again, I'm like, oh my god, this is all I'm going to think about, and I don't like roguelite games. Anyways.
Yeah. But everybody, Mario Kart 64 was a big one. Resident Evil 2 was also a big one because they put both discs on one cartridge. That's how I beat Resident Evil 2.
Yeah. Also, Resident Evil 2, since Capcom internally already knew they were making Resident Evil 1 remake and Resident Evil 0, had new content in it because of Resident Evil 0, which was cool. The character on the train, Billy, that's his name, right? They had like arrest warrants in the police station and small things having to do with Billy. And it's only in the Nintendo 64 version. I'm sure it's in the remake also. But yeah, that was like a big deal. That was the big deal for the Nintendo 64 version of Resident Evil 2.
Yeah.
How did that run on the N64?
Terribly.
Fine. I didn't have no problem with it.
Did it need the extra
Special pack? No.
Yeah.
You could have it, but it ran fine. It ran like it ran like playing the PlayStation 2 game. Like, I didn't have no problem with it. Like
It doesn't have any problem with anything pre GameCube. Ed's a master.
Well, don't forget, I had Resident Evil 1, the original Resident Evil with the big box on PlayStation 1.
I know.
So
I'm
when
just
I played
messing
it,
with you. It's just easy to mess with you, Ed. It's fine.
there's Turok. We won't speak about that, but go ahead.
No,
Steph.
why not? Turok was awesome.
Well, no, I just had that. I think I've said so. I'm sorry. I loved Rampage, and I rented it, and I wanted to rent it again, and I couldn't go. But my dad said he'd make a Blockbuster run. Now, keep in mind, at that age, I was still really young, so I wasn't into anything scary yet. And I said, "Okay, Dad, it's called Rampage." He goes, "What?" He goes, "It's the one with the dinosaur in there, and you destroy cities and whatever." and he brings home Turok. I'm like, I don't know what this is, but I'll play it. And I don't remember how old I was, but I'm pretty sure I was like 9 or something. And this is a M game, and I put it in, and I was just terrified. I mean, I'm fine now because I'm old enough, and I have a limited run edition of Turok. But at that time, I was like, I wanted Rampage. What is going on here?
Turok was so cool because, like, in 1997, like, Jurassic Park was like one of the biggest movies, and Lost World had just come out, and like everybody was into dinosaurs in the 90s because of Jurassic Park. And so this was like awesome for me because I think I was like, let's see, 1997. I got it when it came out. 1997. I was 11 when this game came out. And so I was like all about murdering dinosaurs and doing this terrible first-person shooter game on a Nintendo 64 with platforming, mind you, with no draw distance, but mind you, because it was Turok and not Ocarina of Time, so you couldn't see more than like 10 feet in front of you. It was so crazy because, like, if it wasn't a Nintendo game and the draw distance was bad, it was just like, I remember running through the forest in Turok, and it was just like, after like 10 feet in front of you, it was just blue. It was just blue. Like this nasty color blue, just, I can see it in my head. And then all of a sudden, like a dinosaur would pop out of this blue.
Pop out of nowhere. And I was like, that's what traumatized me.
Oh,
yeah.
Man, those
I
Raptors.
remember I was into first-person shooters, but I tried to play this game, and the fog in this game was just too much.
Yeah.
I couldn't get through. Turok Evolution on GameCube though is a mess of a game, but
yeah,
the end boss of some kind of southern captain from Gettysburg riding a T-Rex, it's just hilarious.
I mean, it's no more ridiculous than the Conduit when like you go through the portal and it's Abe Lincoln and George Washington in like mech suits.
Oh yeah. Oh good.
Also, remember, Codename Steam also exists, which is a steampunk Abe Lincoln with an alien army of historical figures. So, Codename Steam, guys, man, if you like Fire Emblem and you want a very poor version, I would say it is a terrible version of Valkyria Chronicles. Is what Codename Steam is on the 3DS.
I wouldn't say that. It was a new IP.
No, I understand, and I still have a poster for Codename Steam somewhere that I got from.
We named before Bus Rush was Code NX.
I know.
Codename NX.
I know. And I found that logo, by the way, on my computer because I've been reorganizing folders and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, man,
you should throw it up and show everybody, show the team how
we need to do an anniversary episode because it was like 2 or 3 weeks ago. But I guess a 3-year anniversary is not really anything to like. Whatever.
Yeah.
Anyways, continue.
Well,
sorry. N64, guys. Great.
Yes,
console.
there was Mario Party 1 to 3, 1080 snowboarding, NFL Blitz, Banjo-Kazooie, Conquer 64, Killer Instinct 2, which was known as Killer Instinct Gold, Cruising USA.
Oh yeah, Cruising USA. I remember when you beat the game on different cars. You unlock different cars, and I unlocked like the first car I unlocked was a police car. I'm like, nah, I'm fine. But you can unlock a school bus and race with a school bus. It was hilarious. It was awesome.
I remember 1080 snowboarding, playing that because I rented and Banjo-Kazooie.
Well, I remember 1080 was a big deal because Cool Borders was like the game on PlayStation for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And all my friends had PlayStation. Well, some of my friends had PlayStations, and they had Cool Borders. And I remember I specifically asked for 1080 snowboarding, and I never got 1080 snowboarding for N64. It's like one of the kind of essential games that I don't have for Nintendo 64. I remember asking for it, and I was like, Mom, I want this game because at the time also I thought I was going to be I bought a BMX bike. I bought inline skates. I bought a snowboard. I thought I was going to do all these things, and then I fell and hurt myself, and I was like, never going to do it again. I fun story about my BMX, whatever. I went up on this tabletop jump, and I thought I was going to clear it and do this really cool, like, I'm going to twist my handlebars around trick, and I landed sideways and flipped over, and good thing I had a helmet on. That's all I have to say, because I landed on my head, and I like couldn't move for like a while after that.
Oh wow!
But anyways, back to 1080. I asked for 1080 snowboarding. I was like, it's a snowboarding game. It's like the best thing ever. You know, trying to convince my parents to buy it. I got this snowboarding game called Twisted Edge Extreme Snowboarding, and it was not great. And I just remember like there was this British black guy that was awesome, and that was the only character I ever used. And he had this really cool catchphrase, and I forget what it was, but he was just like, I was like, oh my gosh, this is not what I wanted.
At least you didn't get snowboarding kids or whatever.
No, I actually traded it in for Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, so you know I made out fine. But God, Tony Hawk. Can we talk about Tony Hawk real quick? I know like a lot of people don't associate it with the Nintendo 64, especially like because the music was like non-existent on the Nintendo 64.
Mm-hmm.
But man, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater was so good. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2. Oh man, those are some bangers. I was so excited when they announced those remakes.
I still haven't played Tony Hawk at all. I haven't played the remakes. I haven't played the original ones.
Ed, you're missing out, man. They're so good. So I actually bought the remakes on Switch, and it's so good. Those are perfect portable games. Those are perfect Switch games, and they run higher than 30 frames a second, and it made me so happy. Because the Xbox Series X version runs at 120 frames a second, and I was like, you're gonna drop me from 120 to 30. I'm like, no way. I know that sounds like a snobby thing to do, and I was never like that until the Series X came out, and now I'm like all about frame rate. But it runs somewhere between like 40 and 50, and I'm like, this is totally serviceable, and it's so fun. And it just took me back to sitting behind my parents' couch playing Nintendo 64. And playing Tony Hawk. And it was the first time I ever experienced needing a memory card. Because, like, up to that point, all the Nintendo 64 games I had saved to the cartridge.
Yeah.
And I was like, why can't I save my game? I had to go to Funkoland and ask the guy why I couldn't save my Tony Hawk game. I took my game in and told him it was defective because I couldn't save my game. And he was like, no, you need a memory card. And I was like, what is a memory card? He's like, what, you don't have a PlayStation? I'm like, no, I have a Nintendo 64. Do you see this cartridge in my hand? Idiot. God, they were dumb way back then. Anyways. Probably shouldn't be saying that on a podcast when I'm about to go in and trade some stuff in and find some physical Switch games. But, yeah, and so I got a memory card, and it's the only game I ever needed a memory card for was Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. And then when GameCube came out, I bought like 5 of those suckers. Because remember at first when the GameCube came out, I know we'll talk about this when the GameCube episode rolls around, but like you could only hold like 7 or 8 games on the GameCube memory card. And then they came out with like the super expanded one that's like 8 memory cards in one. And oh man, I have like 10 GameCube memory cards. So if anybody needs one,
like we said, the thing was they were $20.
Yeah,
because I used to have the black one.
Yeah,
because it's just like I think like 8 gig or something, whatever the big expension that was on it. They used to hold a lot of games. It
was like 96 blocks or something. Because remember they didn't use megabytes or gigabytes, right? Like PlayStation 2 was the first one to do that, right?
Right.
But N64 had blocks, and it had 96 blocks. And then when they came out with the big one, it was 256 blocks. I was like, holy crap, I need that. Like right now.
Yeah. And I always felt like if I lost mine, I would go to the store and just buy a whole new one.
Yeah.
And then come back home and be like, oh, it was right here. So then I would just I just need to know where I would keep both of them in my GameCube.
Yeah,
We'll
and
talk about that when we get to it.
I ended up buying 2 of like the mid-tier memory cards because I played Madden and NCAA football on GameCube, which was like a weird choice, I guess. But those games took up a whole memory card, and I'm like, oh my gosh, dude, like I need the big ones because these games they didn't fit on a normal GameCube memory card. You needed at least the mid-tier one for those. Anyways, we'll talk about that on N64 or on GameCube. Sorry.
Stephanie, did you play any of these games? Mario Party, 1080, Blitz, Banjo-Kazooie, Conquer 64, Killer Instinct, Cruising USA, or Diddy Kong Racing?
Yeah, I've definitely played Mario Kart, Mario Party. I mean, those were staples. Those were amazing. I played Banjo-Kazooie. I love the Banjo games. I loved all the Rare games. Just to shout out to the awesome partnership they had back then. I'm so sad that it's, not
Banjo. I would say Banjo, Conquer. I mean, GoldenEye and Perfect Dark. Even something like Blast Corps, which like I know a lot of people didn't really play, but that game was really interesting.
Pretty good, yeah. I enjoyed Jet Force Gemini. I enjoyed it.
Yep, I owned that and I loved it.
Yeah, Banjo-Kazooie is like I'm a Banjo-Kazooie over Mario 64 person. I'm one of those people. And I'm also a Diddy Kong Racing over Mario 64 person. Mario Kart 64 is inferior to Diddy Kong Racing.
Well,
I never played Diddy Kong Racing.
Oh my gosh, man. Diddy Kong Racing was so good. It was like an adventure. You went on an adventure on an island, and like instead of like platforming, you just raced, and then you could like race in like a water-based craft, and like which was also really good in the snow levels, and you could fly airplanes and carts, and that was our first look at Banjo and Conquer. Was that game, which was smart for them to put them in there. And then also TikTok Clock was like the unlockable racer, and you had to like beat all the time trials and you unlocked this new racer, which was just this dumb looking clock, who's also in Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts, by the way. But man, Diddy Kong Racing, underrated gem. I need another one. Or what Rare could do is make a not Diddy Kong Racing game for Xbox, which would also be acceptable.
Well, they got to finish the other game that they delayed and get it out.
Yeah.
But there was also Donkey Kong 64, Quest 64, Star Fox 64, Daikatana, GoldenEye 007, Ken Griffey Jr. Slugfest, and Mega Man 64. I'm going to stop right there. Go ahead, Stephanie.
Oh my goodness. Like, that was a huge list. Well, the first thing I'll get out of the way, Quest 64, I had that. I don't know how I ended up with that game. I couldn't even make it out of the first level because the graphics were just so not great that I couldn't tell where the opening out of the castle was. It was literally just I couldn't visually discern where the exit was. Mm-hmm. So that was a waste of my life. What was the other one you said? I know you said Star Fox. Did you say DK64 as well?
Yeah, Donkey Kong 64.
I think that was one of my personal favorites on the N64, next to Ocarina of Time. I don't know what it was about it, but I just really, really loved, other than the camera angles, which apparently didn't bother me so much back then, but when I tried playing it more recently, I'm like, I cannot play this game as much as I love it. So camera angles aside, I love switching between the characters, and the bosses were fun. I just think that it was like just a lot of gameplay, a lot of value. Like 4 or 5 Kongs that you can go through each level.
Yeah.
Plus the Donkey Kong rap is very popular.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Here we go.
Going back to your point of camera angles, though, I think it didn't bother us back then because we didn't know any better, too.
Yeah.
You know, I
Yeah.
mean, the only game that we really had to control the camera was Mario 64 with the C buttons, and it was like, well, whatever, you know. And so, you know, having because Banjo-Kazooie had the same problem, and they fixed it in the Xbox version actually, because you can actually use the right stick as the camera, and it's so helpful. Oh my gosh, that game! I wish that was the version we got on Switch because I don't know. I tried to play the Switch version. It looks nice and it runs nice, but man, the camera's stuff, which
Yep.
is
I stopped playing it on N64 because you told me that they fixed it on Xbox, so I'm just going to play it there.
and I think like the reason why I haven't played any Nintendo 64 games on expansion pack yet is because using a standard controller and not the Nintendo 64 controller throws everything out of whack. It throws everything off. Like, the right stick is not the C buttons, right? No matter if you're playing Ocarina of Time to use items or Mario 64 to control the camera, it's just not the same. And so having this proper Nintendo 64 controller has, I think, alleviated a lot of the issues mentally that I would have replaying those games, you know. So, but they...
Go
Go ahead.
All I was going to say is mention Star Fox. So if you want to finish your thought, I was just going to talk about Star Fox.
I was just going to say, but looking at this list of Nintendo 64 games, like, I had a lot of fun playing Nintendo 64 games, and there are a lot of bangers on this console, you know, including Star Fox 64, which...
Yep.
Yeah.
And that was my next top game. I just find that to be my favorite Star Fox game. I love the branching paths. I mean, that was pretty... I mean, when you go back and play it, I'm like, oh, big deal. It forks in a couple places compared to the branching paths we have now. But back then, I was like, whoa, if I, like, fly perfectly through here, I could defeat an alternative boss. And I don't know. I love Star Fox 64. I know it's not really helpful me constantly saying I love, but if anyone else wants to contribute to Star Fox 64.
I remember like the big deal between mission complete and mission accomplished. Those splash screens. And like if you got all mission accomplished and kind of took that top row of planets or whatever, like Fox's dad came in and helped you fight the last boss, which was super cool. You know, spoilers for I don't know, 25-year-old game at this point. God, Star Fox 64 is 25 years old, guys.
Oh, goody moog.
Wow. Jeez.
And I've never played that game.
Anyways, it was super cool, and I'm really kind of, I don't want to say upset because I'm not really that upset about it, but like the fact that we haven't gotten a decent Star Fox game since then is kind of, you know, it's kind of sad, you know, and like, I mean, we got Starlink for Switch, right, which was essentially the Star Fox game for Switch, right, and you can play the whole game as Fox, and it feels like a Star Fox game. That game is fun, by the way, if you haven't played it. It's got a whole Star Fox storyline. You can play as the Arwing and Fox through the whole game, and he's in all the cutscenes and all the missions and whatever. You know, you never have to change pilots or weapons or anything.
I wouldn't be surprised if that show on the Nintendo Direct that Ubisoft is doing a new Star Fox game.
Well, they got to get Mario Rabbids out first.
Yeah,
it is true.
It worries me that they haven't mentioned it. But
well, they have I guess the rumor is they have something. I know they have that Assassin's Creed thing next month, but they also have something at the end of July, which is supposed to. I guess some stuff today, actually, before I got on, I saw some stuff came out about a Skull and Bones reveal is imminent, and a re-reveal of Beyond Good and Evil 2 is imminent, and I guess there's going to be like one of those Ubisoft Connect, is that what they called it? Ubisoft
Connect, I think.
Forward, yeah. Ubisoft Forward or something?
Yeah, that's it. That's the name of the Direct.
Well, so, I'm more willing to believe those rumors than the fact that there'll ever be a Nintendo Direct in the next week.
Yeah, I know. I saw those rumors too. I'm like, I mean, I get it, but also they just had a Xenoblade one. I wouldn't put it next week. I would say more likely in July at some point now.
Yeah. But I would totally be okay if they brought Star Fox back. Like, I don't think they have to try and do something different like they did with Zero, or what's the other one that I'm
Adventure.
like, Adventure. Like, I really think they could do something like a Star Fox 64, but since we have better technology, maybe make even larger branching pathways and create whole new different planets. I would be fine if the mechanics themselves were very similar, but just give us new planets and new branching pathways. I would be happy as a clam.
I actually wouldn't even mind if they did another Star Fox Adventure style game, but also made it like kind of more. I don't want to say open world because I don't really. I think there's a lot too many open world games at this point, but like I feel like you could do something similar to that, but also add in the traditional Star Fox levels, and you could explore planets and maybe use the Landmaster to like get places faster or whatever. But like, there's something you could do with Star Fox. They need to update Star Fox. That's the thing. Is like
They really do.
it's just stuck, and I think Ubisoft actually had the right idea with Starlink. In the fact that like you could go to these planets, kind of explore, fight bosses, collect resources, upgrade stuff, fight a boss, and then move on. Right? It was totally a Ubisoft game, but instead of Assassin's Creed Towers, you conquered a territory on a planet, and like there were like 3 or 4 territories on a planet, and then you moved on right to another planet. And I think you could totally do that with Star Fox. But
For sure.
also, I think if they just rework some stuff for Zero, it wouldn't be as bad as people say it is. Because I really don't think Zero is as bad as people say it is. I just think the controls need work. Because trying to fly a ship and also trying to use the gamepad's gyroscope to shoot things is, it's terrible. How am I supposed to look at 2 screens at once? Stupid.
Get good, Corey.
Stupid
Gosh.
Wii U. Ugh.
Oh wow.
Best console.
Well, Daikatana,
Nobody's
which
heard
was
of
a
it.
game for John Romero. If you think of the range of games that had big hype and big names attached to it, and then it comes out and it feels spectacular, Daikatana was one for the N64. But GoldenEye 007 was kind of like a new life for console gaming for first-person shooters with it. Ken Griffey Jr. Slugfest, that was Nintendo's way of getting into the sports arena with it. Mega Man 64 was the cartridge version of Mega Man Legends from PS1. Paper Mario started its series on N64. Mischief Makers and Sin and Punishment, these are 2 games from Treasure that I absolutely enjoy and, is being very vocal about. Hopefully Mischief Maker comes to Nintendo Switch Online, but Sin and Punishment is there. Perfect Dark was a good game. I don't know why it got popular for. Corey, you may know
Perfect
more
Dark?
about it.
Yeah. It's because it was a sequel to GoldenEye everybody wanted. That's that's it, really. I mean, everybody knew that EA had kind of got... The thing is Perfect Dark started as a GoldenEye sequel, which would have been Tomorrow Never Dies, I think. And then EA ended up getting, signing their deal with the Bercolis and MGM at the time for the license. And they ended up making the sequel, which wasn't terrible. Like, it was just a worse version of GoldenEye. It wasn't bad or anything. It was actually... I played a lot of it. But they wanted to utilize that technology, and we still have this game and this, this world that how do we change this into a different game? And obviously, like, they just created a new IP instead of trying to license one. And it was popular because it was the sequel to GoldenEye we never really got. And that's really the story. There's no real rhyme or reason.
Okay.
So
I was wondering why that game got popular because I never played Perfect Dark.
Yeah,
I haven't either.
It was fine. I didn't play a lot of it. We were all still playing GoldenEye when Perfect Dark came out. I played a little bit of it. I really didn't play a lot of Perfect Dark until Rare Replay came out, to be honest, on Xbox One, and I played through the Xbox 360 version of it, the XBLA version, and it was fine. I mean, it was fine.
Just got a few more games. Pokemon Puzzle League, Pokemon Snap, and Pokemon Stadium. Superman 64, Brave Race 64, and Yoshi's Story. Now I put Superman 64 because it was one of the lowest rated games.
It's still considered up there with ET as like the worst games of all time. Kryptonite Fog, everybody.
Wait till we get to the GBA. Ooh, there's a particular game that got an EGM. It actually got a 0.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I remember. I remember a lot of these games. I remember Superman 64. Like everybody, I remember there was this weird multiplayer mode, and everybody was flying a spaceship, and everybody was like, "Why is Superman flying a spaceship? He can fly," and their explanation was, "Oh, there's kryptonite fog, so he can't use his flying ability." It was
so weird.
Like, oh my god, it was so bad.
Yeah. Did you play any of these, Stephanie?
Could you run through that list again real quick?
Pokemon Puzzle League, Pokemon Snap, Pokemon Stadium, Superman 64, Brave Race 64, Yoshi's Story, Mega Man 64, Paper Mario, Mischief Makers, and Sin the Punishment, and Perfect Dark.
So Wave Race 64, of course, I already touched upon that. And then Pokemon Snap, I had good memories of that, and Pokemon Stadium, because I had my Game Boy game, and I think there was that ability to transfer your Pokemon data to
the transfer
Pokemon
pack.
Stadium. Yep. Oh, that was great, because that was in the heyday of me and Pokemon back then too. So those are those games out of the bunch.
Yeah, Pokemon Snap was like, that game was, I was obsessed with that game, and getting perfect scores, and always wondering why, like, oh my gosh, this picture was so much better than that picture. Why did this one get a better score? And it was like, oh.
Which is also, everybody, Hey You Pikachu, where you had the microphone to speak to Pikachu.
I forgot about that game. Oof. And they came out with that yellow and blue Nintendo 64 that was like literally longer because it had a embossed Pikachu on it. It was like, oh my gosh, what are you doing with this thing? Oh.
Superman 64, like I said, lowest rated. I did enjoy Brave Race 64. I thought that one was really cool.
Wave Race was the best.
I love doing the handstand.
Mm-hmm.
It was my favorite.
Yeah. And then Yoshi's Story was an easier platform, but because I love Yoshi, he's one of my faves in the Mario series. I enjoyed that game. A lot of people said it was just way too easy, so they didn't enjoy it.
I never understood how you unlocked the different levels, because like sometimes I would play through it and like I would unlock one level, but then like I'd play through it again and then like the third level would unlock, but not the second. I never understood how that game worked. It was weird.
It's weird.
I mean, it was fine. I played it, but it was weird.
Yeah. But
tell us your Bomberman story real quick.
Yeah.
So Bomberman 64. So I got that game, and I'm sorry, I almost forgot about it. I got that game, and I was so excited to play it. But then I kind of realized that you couldn't climb and you couldn't jump. You had to like place your bombs in certain areas, in certain places, where you had to like fall in order to jump on your bomb to get to different, places and everything. And I just remember that after playing Super Mario 64, I am playing other platformers. I wanted a jump feature in 3D platforming game. And because that wasn't in Bomberman 64, there was places that I couldn't get up because you couldn't climb up some places. you literally had to figure a way on how to get up to some areas and put your bombs there. And if you hit a certain button, the bombs would blow up, which would drop the frame rate. And if you fail sometimes from a high place, you end up dying.
Yeah.
And so I was excited to play. I love Konami. I love Hudson Soft. I love the Bomberman series. But when I tried to play that game, it was, and literally I asked for it for Christmas. So my mom spent like $400 some dollars on me that Christmas for it. You know, she got me a coat and clothes, and she was just like, you can't get nothing almost to next Christmas. But she bought me a game for like I think she bought me a PlayStation 1 for my birthday that following year. So I had N64 and PlayStation. But yeah, Bomberman, I just could that gameplay. I was just like,
Yeah, I remember playing Bomberman 64. It was like the third or fourth game I think I got for a Nintendo 64. It was fine. I remember there was this level with like what I thought was like a Stonehenge style rock formation, and I never really figured out that puzzle. I didn't play a lot of Bomberman 64, I think it's safe to say, but it was okay.
Yeah. So, but everybody, that's going to be it for the N64. Now it's time to rank it.
Oh boy.
Oh.
This is, and out of all, let's see, what is the current ranking? I think it's
Super Nintendo?
I think it's, hold on, I think it's in the Discord. I don't know. N64 is number one for me by a long shot out of all these consoles.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to say so. Not, I'm like I said earlier, I know I'm biased, but I mean, N64 took that big jump to 3D polygons, and the list of amazing hits, just amazing. And not only were they hits, but they were games that kind of revolutionized gaming. So that's why it's going to be at the top. But I'd be curious to see where everything else is, like as a reminder.
I would place it under the Super Nintendo. As much as I enjoyed the N64, it has a lot of memories for me. But I think because I played so much of the Super Nintendo and those games stood out, because I didn't have a Chrono Trigger, I didn't have a Secret of Mana, or I didn't have like Yoshi's Island, or I didn't have like, I don't know, something about the N64. As much as I loved it, I think it's because I didn't own a lot of games on that platform like I did the Super Nintendo and even the Game Boy. It's like it was a console that I rented stuff. And it wasn't because of price or anything to buy the games, because I even played like I said, a lot of wrestling games with my friends and stuff. I think it's just I didn't own that many games on the N64, even though I rented and played a lot. I of course I feel like it's better than the NES and Game Boy. But I just feel like Super Nintendo was a better system than the N64,
Yeah.
Our ranking. Does anyone want to list it off? I see it.
I'm trying to, I don't remember if did we have SNES over Game Boy? I don't think we did, because I think we ranked Game Boy over because of stuff like Pokemon and Link's Awakening and not having experience with the Super Nintendo. Stephanie and I, at least. So I think Game Boy still sits at number one.
Yeah, it is.
All right. Well, it's definitely.
I don't know if I can have N64 at like third place.
Yeah, but to me, it's totally better than the Game Boy by a long shot. But Ed thinks it's worse than the Super Nintendo.
Well, I meant
in terms of ranking. I don't think you think it's bad. I'm saying, like,
no.
So we have like a real problem here.
Well, well, would you put it? I'm fine having Game Boy still at 1, and putting N64 underneath it over the Super Nintendo, and then having the NES
Yeah,
at last.
I mean,
Like,
yeah, but I still think the N64 is better than the Game Boy by a long shot.
do you agree, Stephanie?
I do, unfortunately.
Okay, then N64 is number 1. N64, Game Boy, Super Nintendo,
Look,
NES.
there's going to be some heartbreaks on this
Coming
list.
up, yeah.
So, you know.
Well, I think not. I think because, we still got a lot of consoles. Now, because I already know what the war is going to be when it comes to one particular console. And that would be in a couple of episodes. So that's going to be an interesting one.
Yeah.
And just like to give you guys you viewers, if you missed it last time, we're not doing the Virtual Boy because it wasn't out for a long time and it doesn't have a lot of games.
And we all know it's the best console, so I mean it's not even worth
it's
Mario. Look, you put Mario Tennis and Wario's Woods on there, bam, done.
A mess. So
did you see? By the way, did you see that guy? He made a Virtual Boy, like he took it apart and made like a wireless, almost like an Oculus headset with a Virtual Boy with a wireless controller.
Oh no!
Yeah, I'm like, man, if that would have been that thing in the '90s, man, that would have been awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Except you had that little stupid kickstand, and you had to like look like this and play it like this. Stupid Nintendo. Come on. Only Nintendo console I don't own, by the way. I'm looking for one, so if anybody out there is looking to get rid of that, just offload it. DM me. I'll take it off your hands. Anyways, so our current ranking, everybody. Nintendo 64 sits at number 1.
Woo.
Game Boy number 2. Super Nintendo number 3. And NES number 4. And I know everybody is screaming that NES is or Super Nintendo's number 3 on this list.
Mm-hmm.
Which is because, like, going forward, there's a lot of consoles I think are better than the Nintendo 64.
Mm-hmm.
But that Super Nintendo sitting at 3 is just, man, that's gonna hurt a lot of people's.
But I that guy said that I have my whole time with Super Nintendo. I think it would have dropped even lower when we get into Future because when we get to one particular console, to me maybe the struggle is going to be real. The discussion is going to be real with them.
This was the easy part right now. It's just going to get more challenging from here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Wii U best console.
The discussion over that one. Well, everybody, that's going to be it for Standard Definition. Stephanie, Corey, I want to thank you. Quickly, Stephanie, where can we find you?
Yeah, at Klimov_author on Twitter and Instagram, and my articles bossrush.net, and Wednesday nights on the Boss Rush podcast.
Yes. Corey, where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at IamCoreyNHD. You can find me on the Boss Rush podcast, Nintendo Power Block, and a ton of other things here on the Boss Rush Network.
You guys can find me on Twitter at ThatRetroCode and on Instagram. You can check out more content that I'm on at bossrush.net and on our YouTube channel. But that, everybody, have a great week, have a great weekend, and we'll see you next time on Standard Definition. Bye, everybody.
Goodbye.